Hi people, hope you're all well. So it's 6:30 a.m. here. It's always really pleasant on this street. Always hear the birds singing in the morning. My sleeping pattern's all over the place, so a little bit erratic in terms of making videos. But I think this one's important because it's a positive video. Now, um, usually when I talk about the issue of crime and justice, which is a subject I feel very, very strongly about, it's it usually has a very cynical angle, inevitably, because the situation, I believe, is cynical. It's hard not to be. This is something positive, and it's something, that where good news comes, I'm going to welcome it. Of course I am. Because honestly, if you think about crime too much, you can get really depressed. It can be very, very, it can really bring you down. Now, I am going to be talking about the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. That is, of course, a big event this week. So watch out for that. I'll definitely be speaking about that issue in due course. Um, but for now, I just want to talk about something that I read on the Justice Secretary's Facebook page. Um, and I'll just get into it and share some of my thoughts around this. So this is from Dominic Raab's Facebook page. He is, of course, de facto Deputy Prime Minister and the Justice Secretary, I believe Chief Secretary of State, or there's a there's a old office that he is an old sort of ceremonial office that he's also part of. But anyway, he's the Justice Secretary at the moment, and this is what he's posted. Yesterday, I published a new victims law to put their needs and voice firmly at the heart of the justice system. Figures show that 3 in 5 victims don't report their crimes, and a third drop out of a prosecution before justice is done. For the first time, a duty will be placed on prosecutors to meet victims in certain cases before trial in order to hear their views. Victims will also be given the right to attend parole board hearings in full and to submit questions during the process, such as querying an offender's suitability for release. The parole board will be required to consider victims' views and concerns before making a decision in the case. Criminals will also be forced to pay more towards crucial victim services, such as rape support centres, with a 20% increase to the victim surcharge that will raise an extra £20 million by 2025. This penalty fee is imposed on offenders when they are sentenced for crimes to ensure they will take responsibility for their actions and pay back to society by contributing to services which support victims. A new victims bill will make criminals pay more to help victims and keep dangerous offenders off our streets. That's a summary of what's happening. I'll put a link to the link that he's provided. Now, I welcome this. Of course, I welcome this. Um, I think there's a lot more that could be done in the justice system. A lot more. But I will welcome anything that's positive. And there are some things here. I mean, certainly things that should have happened before, but it's good. It is welcome news. For example, the fact that victims will have greater say in parole board hearings. That's good. um, the fact that prosecutors will need to meet victims, because sometimes, we assume that prosecutors will have the victim's interests in mind, but sometimes you just, you know, doing the job, they are doing the job, but the fact that they will really get that emotive angle of what the victim has been through, I think is a good thing, because it will ostensibly make them fight even harder for their case. Criminals will also be forced to pay more towards crucial victim services. That's really good. Um, Now, I'm not naive. Of course, none of this stuff will go the whole way towards justice. There's justice system has a long way to go, but it's good news and it should be welcome. And I commend Dominic Raab for his efforts in this regard. The photo caption shows him meeting with victims. I've long argued that there are too many areas where victims are ignored. Parole hearings is definitely one of them. The fact that this bill is going to change that and give victims a much greater voice in parole hearings is a very, very good thing. It's not a small thing. That's to me that is a big thing, and it's very important. And that's the law. So that's definitely welcome news. Um, like I say, I'll put a full link the to the new victims law that he has proposed there, but it's definitely welcome. Now, the justice system has a long way to go. I read earlier about an 18-year-old that was killed by a pack of other teenagers in the town of Houghton Spring, which is it's part of the city of Sunderland that comes under the administration, which is my hometown. He was killed last year. They chased him down an alley behind a pub and killed him. His mother has shown incredible stoicism and grace under the circumstances. Um, but I'm also thinking of the young father who was killed by a teenage gang in Cramlington, also up here in northeast England. I think that particular kind of crime, when you get gangs, particularly teenage gangs, targeting individuals, it's so depraved and so evil. I take the view that if someone's old enough to kill, they should absolutely be named. This bizarre situation. I mean, in the UK, the legal age of responsibility, I believe, unless I'm mistaken, is 11. So if that's a legal age of responsibility, it is nonsensical that a 15-year-old thug cannot be named for legal reasons. It just doesn't make sense. I mean, that particular kind of crime, I think there needs to be much tougher sentences. I read about another case where three burglars went into a house in Wrexham in North Wales and held a knife to a woman and threatened her baby. Um, and all of them got less than 10 years. I think the judges remain far too unaccountable because, unlike MPs, if you have an issue, you can write to your constituency MP, you can vote them out of office. You simply can't do that with judges. They're distant figures. I believe the Sentencing Council of England and Wales, um, actually, the Sentencing Committee is its formal name, I believe. The Sentencing Committee of England and Wales, it needs to at least be partially elected. At the moment, it's wholly unelected. Public consultation is minimal. It's not on every crime. Those are things that absolutely have to change. And I think generally sentencing is just too soft in too many cases. Um, I don't believe in this idea that, well, someone's behaved, so they should get early release for good behavior. Um, and I understand that if an offender admits a crime, it can save the victim testifying. But the idea that, oh, well, we'll knock off 5 years or whatever it might be off their sentence as a result, I think that the whole angle of criminal justice in this country is wrong-headed. It just doesn't focus on what it should focus on, which is the gravity of crimes. It focuses on, for example, issues like rehabilitation, which is very important. Of course, it is. But I insist that after the fact, justice must be justice. Anyway, I could talk a lot about that issue, but I've made a lot of videos about that. For this one, I welcome it. It's good news. I commend Dominic Raab for pushing it. It's good news, this victim's bill, so I definitely welcome that. It won't solve the whole problem. It won't change everything, but at the very least, it gives victims more voice in parole hearings, which is very important. So that's something, and I welcome it. I mean, it's overdue; it should have happened before, but it is good news. So that's something, and I'll put a link to this in the video in the description.